Welcome to another Music Monday. I'm your host, Adam Duke. Today, I'm at Nietzsche's talking to We Were Blank.
All right, my name's Brendan. I play rhythm guitar and I write sometimes.
Hello, I'm Matt, and I play the drums in We Were Blank.
Robert Doherty, younger brother to this Brendan Doherty here. Ohm, last name. I play bass, and that is all that I do.
I'm Blaze. I'm the spiritual younger brother to Brendan Doherty. And I play lead guitar, and I sing the high stuff that Brendan doesn't feel like singing.
Oh yeah, I also sing. He sings too. I met this guy when he was born. Matt, we met on Craigslist. You want to tell that story?
Another missed connection. We met on Craigslist, and I came over to his house, and there was a house party, and they had me playing, like, the bongos or something in this, the cajon in this, circle at the party. And he was like, well, I guess this is your tryout.
I was chilling, minding my own business one day, as I usually do, and he comes up to me and he goes, "How do you feel about playing bass in a band?" And I was like, that's something I could do, basically. Guitar or bass, yes. And I was like, bass. Fewer strings, less requirements, easier oversight. And then we just kind of showed up at his place.
I also met these guys on Craigslist. I was sitting in the library of not the library, like a common area of Canisius College, and I was literally just scrolling through Craigslist community posts out of genuine boredom, and I got to this post that was pop punk emo band looking for a lead guitarist, and I was like, all right, what are the chances that I know who this is? So I read the post. I was looking for a band name. I couldn't find anything, and then I eventually hit him up, and I was like, yo, I play guitar, and it was Matt. And the funny part of it is this was in probably September last year, and We Were Blank and my band, BP and the Oil Spills, were on the same show at Stamps in the first weekend of October. So I was like, hey guys, do you need a guitar player for the show? I'm already gonna be there. Come January, I semi-officially joined the band and then played a show a month later, and here we are.
I started playing guitar in high school when I was grounded all the time. My dad had an acoustic in the back of his closet, and so I found that, and I started to just play around, of course, Blink-182 stuff, quintessential of the genre.
I started playing the drums when I was 8 or 9. I had tried every other instrument, and I was no good at anything. And then I begged my parents to buy me a drum kit. I already had a bass. I already had a guitar. And, we knew I wasn't a singer. So I got behind a drum kit, and I guess I just stayed there for 15 years, and here I am.
We have a bit of a musical family. There was also a little piano that we had in our dining room, so reading music was something that was encouraged amongst all of us. And I remember playing the same acoustic and being like, my fingers hurt so much. And then I picked up an electric guitar and I felt like a god. And then I stayed on the electric and then went back to acoustic and said, I'm starting to understand the difference between these two instruments now, and just abandoned guitars entirely. My parents offered a $150 coupon as a Christmas gift, and they said, go get yourself a bass. And I did, and it just died recently. Rest in peace. But it allowed me to actually get something that I can be proud to bring on stage. So
when I was 6, I got really into music, in particular Van Halen. So I begged my parents to let me play guitar, and they were like, you have to play piano first. And I was like, fine, you have a deal. So when I was 7, I started taking piano lessons, and after doing that for a year, my parents, I think, were kind of hoping that I would forget about wanting to play guitar after playing piano. And when I was 8 or 9, I was like, hey, remember how you said I could play guitar? And they were like, fine. So they took me to a music store. They pulled down a 3/4 size acoustic guitar, and I put it on my lap left-handed, because I did some things left-handed, and my mom was like, we're not doing that. She flipped the guitar over. She's like, you're right-handed now. and because she didn't want to buy a left-handed guitar every time I needed a guitar, which was very smart for her, but it would be so cool to be left-handed on guitar.
Recently, September 26th, it was the 28th. All right, see, this is already 2 months ago, and we forgot the date. But we released our second EP. We've been really proud of it. We've been working on it for a little over a year time. It's called What Got Us Here. It's on all of our streaming platforms. And right now, we're just getting back into the studio sometime soon after playing through our fall shows. But up through November, December, I'd say keep your eyes open.
We were thinking about like creative things, not necessarily good names, but creative names. And we were like, what if we called ourselves blank? And our shirts could just be like an empty underscore. And then we started thinking like, maybe that's not too marketable. And even worse, when we shared it with everyone, they said, oh, blank 182, that's perfect. And so we realized that wasn't a good idea. And the next time we went to talk about creating a name,
Bobby said, well, we were blank. Now what are we going to do? And I was like, how about we were blank? What do you think of that? And we were like, cut it. Let's do it.
Yeah, because one thing we always wanted was diplomacy. All of our song titles are named together. And so we wanted our band name to be something we had named together. And we all each contributed what we thought were really dope names that we could never agree on. So we played in the basement for like a year before we even got our first show. And we just tossed around ideas back and forth, dozens and dozens of ideas. And then we got a show and we said, okay, we need a name. And diplomatically, humorously, we went with nothing. So that's initially how we came up with blank. And then we ran with blank until, as Bobby said, blank 182. So now we were blank to avoid any sort of general confusion. My personal favorite, last year around this time, we picked up a show with a band called Quit Yourself. And Matt had ended up sharing his Spotify link with me, and I started playing it, and it sounded like, Midwest emo transit, just the way he sang and the way he layered his vocals over the twinkly guitar. It was one of the first times that I was just like in my car listening to a local band over and over and over and over again. So I was stoked when we finally played that show, and coincidentally, 2 weeks before the show, we were in the studio. And the studio we were in was in the joint practice space with his band. So we ran into each other and we got to know each other a little bit before we ended up playing a show together. So for me, it's Quit Yourself. I love those guys.
I'm going to do two, even though we said one each, because the first one isn't necessarily a band. Paul at QC Audio, we're repping him right now. He recorded our last EP. He is the greatest of all time, and we obviously don't play shows with him. He's a producer, but you need music recorded, go to QC Audio. He's got you. And then I guess I'll go with the obvious one, Amateur Hockey Club. I mean, I feel like I'm going to steal that from Blaze, but at the end of the day, Matt, the lead singer, is our boy. We love him very much. He was part of our band for a while. Everybody in Amateur Hockey Club is really great. They sound great. You already know who they are, but they're awesome. So I'll take that obvious choice there.
so there's a lovely little outfit by the name of The Weather Might Say Otherwise, a.k.a. Tombso. And one of the first experiences I had was the aforementioned Matt Foote was trying to put together like a promo shoot for a show. What up? We were trying to do a riff on the what up. Yep. And so we're watching like the preliminary takes. And dude's got a ferret, a weasel, a mustelid. And as someone who owns 3 at home, I lost my mind, and I was like, who is this? And they're like, oh, that's the guy from Tombso. And I look it up, and Tombso on Twitter said, Ferret Rock. And it's not just that. It was our release show that we had recently. We had a few outfits lined up. Tombso was one of them, but one of their members couldn't get off of work for the show. And everyone else still showed up to support, to shout, to bring the energy, and that really stuck with me.
I was going to say Amateur Hockey Club. Like, We Were Blank has worked with them a lot. My band has worked with them a lot. But I'm going to go with a little wild card here. And I don't even know off the top of my head if We Were Blank has played with them before, but they definitely should if they haven't. Mother Nature's Son. Oh, yes. those guys absolutely rock. I heard them for the first time when the guitarist in my band, Nathan, was just like playing them in his car, and I was like, this is awesome. And I wound up listening to them, and I wound up booking some shows for them. And I love those guys. They're a bunch of like really genuine dudes, and they make awesome music that like blows me away every single time I see it and every single time I hear it.
Right when the pandemic ended, Nietzsche's was our first show back. It was late June, and you could tell the pandemic ended because everybody was outside, and we're just like a small name, no name local band. But on that ticket, we ended up playing last at like 1 o'clock, and the place was bumping, and we all felt like rock stars. At least I felt like a rock star. So I will always think fondly of Nietzsche's and how they're always welcoming us, how we're always able to play here, and that one really fond memory of when we felt like rock stars right after COVID.
I'm going to go with another obvious pick, Stamps in North Tonawanda. They are fantastic. They are super welcoming. They will let like almost anyone play, which is fantastic. You need easy access to venues as a band, and that's not a bad thing, letting anyone play. It's hard to figure out, like, we're trying to book out of state right now. I don't know the first thing about doing that as far as, do I contact a venue? Do I do this? Do I do that? So, Greg Burt books for them a lot, and he's like super welcoming, and it's fantastic. So my pick would be Stamps.
I'm going to go with Mohawk, only because it was one of our, I'm pretty sure it was our very first show. I got out of the car, and I'm like walking up, and a few of my friends are there. I'm like, oh, this is weird. Like, people showed up to see us. What's happening right now? And it's a really cool corner of town. There's like all sorts of sights you can see from there. There's a bus parking spot that you're not allowed to take across from Mohawk. And just in general, it's got a nice layout in there. I like the separation between stage and bar. I find that's important to make sure that other patrons can be where they want to be. So I like bars that have that set up. Nietzsche's happens to be another one of them.
Partially because he stole Stamps, but I was thinking about this like as soon as you asked the question. The second show I played with this band was Burtfest, and that was at Ironworks, and that is like my holy grail of venues in Buffalo, at least. And like, it's such a cool place. It like feels legit. If you get it like packed out, it's super awesome. I love Ironworks. I would love for us to play there again, and that's what I got. I've also never booked there, so it feels like slightly beyond my reach, and I think that's part of it too. Yeah.
I think importantly, as influences for the majority of us here, we all listen to Free Throw, and I'm certain if you like Free Throw, you can hear some of that in our music. And when you're on Craigslist and you're like, hey, looking for a band, I play this music, and then you're like, you never relate to what that is, but I think Free Throw is definitely one of the names on the list that Matt and I connected over. It's like, oh, we know this band. So absolutely Free Throw.
I'm going to go with another fantastic pick, Microwave. We all love Microwave. I know Bobby was about to say it, but Free Throw, Microwave, We Were Blank, a couple others, but that already sounds like a banger lineup.
The genre that really struck me as I was growing older was people singing about like, oh man, like my car broke down. How terrible. And I'm like, what a silly thing to sound so distraught over. And now I'm 25 years old and I go, I understand. I get everything now. I get Microwave singing about being anxious about like washing dishes when you're 40 years old. Like, to a kid, you're like, you wasted so much time writing a song about this, but those are all real fears. Free Throw does the same thing. P Daddy to an extent. Prince Daddy and the Hyena. I'm just gonna roll with them.
I'm gonna go with Hop Mulligan. They have a very fresh take on like modern emo that like doesn't take itself too seriously, and I feel like that fits with the We Were Blank vibe. Like, I still bump Hop Mulligan all the time, and I feel like if We Were Blank could get on a bill with Hop Mulligan, Microwave, and Free Throw, and Prince Daddy at Ironworks, I'd I'd be able to die in peace. I would.
So I'm going to start the conversation by saying blank, because it's the one song we all wrote a piece together. I have a verse, Matt has a verse, Bobby has a verse, and Blaze plays. He sings over top with the guitar is how we described the lead guitar part. So I think it was our ultimate collaboration on our first EP, Sleeping in My Jeans Part 2, which is why on our recent release, we tried to follow in the footsteps of the younger brother called Blank 2. So definitely Blank is, in my opinion, our favorite. We end most of our shows, if not 98% of them, with Blank.
I agree.
I would toss on two special mentions for me personally are Stubborn and Pocket Sand. They're both higher energy sadness. You know, like it's not dreary. Stubborn is fun because I sing. I'm not going to lie and say that doesn't make it more enjoyable for me to perform. But also Pocket Sand, we do this thing where it slows down out of nowhere. At a live show, we start shaking our hips, and then the music just stops, and Matt can do some crazy, you know, whether it's a tambourine solo or a hi-hat solo, and then we just pick right back up into it, and the people are always loving it. Like, oh, how did you? They kept time without playing. I don't know how to do it either.
I love playing specifically Finger Guns into Commute. They have very fun lead guitar parts for me. I love the transition from Finger Guns into Commute where it goes to like the solo drums directly out of Finger Guns. I love the look on Matt Foot's face when I play his guitar part in Commute without a capo. And, you know, I'm always pushing to play Finger Guns in Commute, and there's always a little bit of pushback there. But I'm still going for it every single time. I love doing that.
That was We Were Blank. If you'd like to check out their music, I'll have the links down below. And for Music Monday, I'm Adam Duke, News 4.
Go Bills. Go Bills.